all here, you understand what has happened. We had a very horrific scene that occurred just behind us. I'm pleased to announce that none of the police officers were injured. But what we do have is we have a scene, two scenes actually. One of them is just to the east of us over here, where everything began. The preliminary investigation is telling us that the officers were placed under fire. The scene then changed to the one that is behind us right now. Again, preliminarily, we understand that the gentleman that was ultimately shot was given more and ample opportunity to drop a weapon. Witnesses have said they heard the officers say, drop the gun, and ultimately he was shot.
So did he fire on the officers?
From how we understand it, again, please understand this is preliminarily, and we have to go ahead and put a lot of pieces together yet. But what we understand from the onset is, yes, the officers were placed under fire.
You said the scene was east of here. Where was that?
I'm sorry, sir?
Where was the exact first scene?
Approximately 1 mile east of here on Old Daytona Road.
Okay, is it out at the airport? Or?
It's in the airport area.
Okay.
How did all this happen?
A phone call came in from a woman who said that the gentleman who ended up being shot, that he was possibly suicidal and he was drinking.
Was he firing on other buildings in the area? That's what we were hearing.
We hear, again, preliminarily, yes.
And so were those houses or were they
It was a
places of
business. As I understand it, it was a business.
Okay. And so how did she know the suspect?
I don't know that answer.
How did we get here from that building to here?
How did they get here?
Was there a chase? What happened to get to this location?
There was no chase involved, but the gentleman did leave that area, came up westbound on Old Daytona Road at a high rate of speed and struck another vehicle.
Was anyone hurt during the course?
I haven't been briefed on that. I don't know.
How is the suspect doing right now?
The suspect?
Mm-hmm.
The suspect is deceased now.
Okay, so he passed. And how are was it police officers or sheriff's deputies?
It was two deputies and a DeLand police officer opened fire.
Okay.
And the chief is exactly right. What we get is it's a gentleman who's going through a divorce, who's drunk, who's mentally ill, is the call we get. He's armed with multiple firearms. When DeLand PD shows up, they're met with gunfire. Volusia County Sheriff's Office respond. Black Mercedes, high rate of speed, north from the location. We stop stick it twice. The vehicle continues. You have a husband and wife who are leaving Lowe's in their white pickup truck, and as they turn onto Old DeLand, they are rear-ended and knocked into the air. As deputies in DeLand respond, they obviously want to go render first aid. They encounter our gunman. We have 3 independent witnesses who say, including the people in the truck, who say it felt like 2 minutes, where they just kept hearing deputies and DeLand police officers say, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, before he was fatally shot.
And was that because of training that they were asking him multiple times to drop that gun?
You know, and then having just had a shooting the other night, none of us, and the chief's been doing this a long time and so have I, none of us are trained to come to work to kill anybody. We're trained to come to work to help people. But at the same situation, you have somebody who fired at police. He probably was traveling at over 100 miles an hour when he slammed into those people. And I'll tell you a side story later, thank God they're alive. And then the deputies and DeLand PD converge and give repeated commands till he makes a gesture to where we have to defend ourselves and defend everybody else that's in the area. I mean, don't forget, you have those folks that were trapped inside their car as well to defend one another.
Did he shoot at all? Did he fire any shots?
We don't know right now if he fired at this scene. We know that he definitely fired at the scene back at 919 Beverly. But the interesting thing, and this is how God works in strange ways, is the couple, and I got to speak to them, that were driving that white pickup, they were going to take their Honda Civic to Lowe's to Price Lumber. And the husband was like, nah, let's take the truck just in case. And they went back and forth and finally said, okay, take the truck. Had they taken the Honda Civic, they would have been dead. Because when you look at that Mercedes, like I said, we believe he was traveling at over 100 miles an hour.
Is that couple okay, did you say? Or did they have injuries?
They walked away, but they are at the hospital now getting checked out.
Okay. Do you know which hospital?
I do not know. I do not know.
So did this all start at the suspect's house? And
Started at the suspect's wife's law firm,
Okay.
which is up the street.
Can you say what the law firm was?
I can't pronounce. If I knew, I don't know the name. I can't pronounce it.
Okay.
Do you know his name?
I can't pronounce it. It's a long name.
Can you share his age or any other information about him at this time?
We don't have that yet. I mean, again, as the chief had said repeatedly, this is all unfolding. This is just everything we're getting is from the deputies, is from 911, and is from the witnesses in all these homes here.
And please remember, this is maybe 2.5 hours old. FDLE is just on scene right now, so the investigation is just starting to unfold. So what the sheriff just told you is the details as we know it at this time.
We can tell you there's at least one body camera at the scene that's being downloaded, and we're going to get to review that. And the body camera is VCSO sheriff's deputy who was here for the whole entire incident and who actually was one of the officers who discharged.
So there's video of what happened at the second scene, but is there a video at the other scene?
We don't know. Again, like the chief said, we got FDLE here. We're trying to contact more witnesses. We're trying to find out how the 911 call came in. This is going to take a while to unravel. But preliminarily, this is what we have, and we're basing that on base with the deputies, with the officers, and what the folks that live in those homes behind us are telling us.
Sheriff, was this a deputy call to the original scene, or was it a DeLand PD call, and then you guys joined forces?
DeLand PD, and we joined forces. I mean,
But please understand too, we're on the same radio system. So what we hear, the sheriff's office hears.
and vice versa.
Yes.
I think at the end of the day, I think we're going to see we saw the other day in DeLand. You have somebody mentally ill who's consumed too much alcohol, who has access to firearms, and unfortunately ends up in a deadly situation. I mean, thank the good Lord that the folks in the white truck weren't hurt, and thank the good Lord that nobody from the DeLand PD or the Volusia County Sheriff's Office was hurt.
Is there anything that could have changed what happened?
Preliminarily, I don't think there's a darn thing would have changed anything here. Somebody, in my opinion, this is just my opinion from what I know now, was based on a suicide mission. And the good thing was, in this case, that no innocent lives were lost.
Do you think suicide by cop?
I can't answer that. I don't know. We haven't seen the body camera video yet, but I mean, you fire at the police, you lead them on a 100-mile-an-hour chase with 2 flat tires, and then, according to witnesses who say it seemed like it was over 2 minutes where they just kept hearing, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun, and then we have to open fire. You could make that determination.
And was it the DeLand police who opened fire, or was it the sheriff's deputies who opened fire?
Well, there was no exchange of gunfire a mile back.
Okay.
On the way. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question up here, although I do understand that there was one of our officers that did shoot, but I'm waiting to hear what the FDLE investigation says about that before I confirm anything.
Okay, so it was a DeLand police officer who fired.
And us.
And you.
And like the chief said, preliminarily, what we're getting is 2 of my deputies returned or opened fire, and one from DeLand. But like the chief said, all preliminary. There's an investigation that's going on. We're just trying to give you information to get out there what we're hearing.
So we don't know who fired the deadly shot. We don't know any of those things. We just know that we had officers involved and deputies involved. FDLE will come to those conclusions, and we'll be able to share that later.
You mentioned it was 100-mile-per-hour or high speeds. Was he going at a high speed when he crashed?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, the front of the Mercedes is almost disintegrated, and when you look at the injuries, that truck was traveling northbound when they took that hit, and it went airborne from one of the witnesses before it landed where it is now.
And
so
the suspect was driving the Mercedes,
the
right?
suspect was driving a Mercedes.
And who was in the pickup?
A husband and wife.
Okay, oh, right.
And Sheriff, this has been the second, and correct me if I'm wrong, second deputy-involved shooting in less than a week. What's
4
going
days.
through your mind?
What's going through my mind is what I had said earlier. You have somebody who's mentally ill. You have somebody who is not on their medication, who is armed to the teeth, and who is under the influence of alcohol. And for all of the training in the world, you can't take that firearm and the fact that they're not thinking logically out of the big picture here. And like I said, again, you have somebody open fire on the police, open fire on marked uniformed police officers, flees the scene, being chased, stop-sticked, plows into a car. How he's not knocked unconscious or killed when he plows into that white pickup, I have no idea. And then you have witnesses saying they just keep hearing the cops and deputies over and over say, drop the firearm, drop the firearm, drop the firearm. Clearly he makes some type of a gesture that causes us to open fire.
And so at this point, what's next?
There's an investigation that has to unfold. We have to look at body camera video. We have to listen to 911 radio tapes. As the chief said, there is so much more to do. There's crash study to be done. I mean, there are more witnesses to be interviewed. But the gist that we're coming out here to tell you is that the preliminary story that we're having is this, and we're pretty confident, or we wouldn't come here and talk to you. We're pretty confident of what we have. But and I'll editorialize here. The shooting the other night in DeLand was the same type of scenario. It's a mentally ill individual who's armed with a gun, who's off of his medication, and the deputies don't go in the house. They don't force anything. They're outside. They have cover, and they're trying to tell her, hey, you need to come out. The wife's there trying to talk to him, and you hear the shotgun rack, and within the blink of an eye, he's coming out with a gun pointed at the deputies. One of my deputies grabs the wife, turns his back from a lethal, deadly situation to run to get her out of the scene, and the other deputy fires defensively to protect himself and the wife and his partner.
And that was the last.
That was the
shooting.
one in DeLand.
What
And you
weapons
said
were
armed to
recovered
the
on
teeth,
here?
so yeah, how many weapons?
We don't know yet. All of that, and the car hasn't been searched, so we can tell you there is definitely at least one weapon that's there. The call indicates there's more inside of the car. We're not there yet. You know, we're going by with a 911 call.
You guys can't say anything about this suspect yet, his city of residence, his race, his age, anything like that?
No. We really haven't. We know we've spoken to his wife, but we haven't really confirmed anything else yet.
Are both agencies turning the investigation over to FDLE
Yes, we
and
are.
Florida Highway Patrol for the crash?
We're asking Florida Highway Patrol to do the crash because we want to find out what the black box inside of the Mercedes will tell us. FDLE is the lead agency as far as the investigation is concerned, and the Volusia County Sheriff's Office will be assisting in crime scene processing.
Just to be sure.